now I gotta ride or die.
So guys, welcome back to the channel. Today you join me from the driver's seat of a 1999 EJ Honda Civic, a car I went to buy when I was young. This is actually one of the choices that I had going way back into, well, about 12, 13 years ago. This was actually one of the cars that I wanted to buy, but I've never driven one. So today we're taking this one out. We're gonna go and find some B-rolls, go and see what it's like, talk about owning and modifying one of these EJ9s and see what this modified example of the car is like to drive. But as ever guys, make sure you like and subscribe to this channel for more content like this, but onwards to the B-rolls. So, as I've just said, the 1.4 variant, the Honda Civic EJ shape. Now, this is one of the cars that I wanted to buy when I was young. But again, I've driven EK9s, I've driven, you know, various other EKs and, you know, shape Civics from this generation, but never the 1.4 variant. I understand that a lot of guys out there, if you're a little bit older, will see past this car, but this is for the younger guys out there. So, what we're really looking at is something that I do believe is going up in price. Hard to find a nice example of these cars these days, and this one is a prime example. A one owner from new, and when this was bought, it had just over 70,000 miles on the clock. Bought from an old lady for just £1,100, which these days is a good shout, because these cars are going up in price just for their shells. You can change the engine out to whatever you wish in the front of it. This one is no exception from modifications though. This one has been built on a driveway by the 19-year-old owner, and he actually bought the car when he was 18 years old. And again, £1,100 for this one owner, relatively low mileage Honda Civic is a really good deal. Insurance wise though, and I'm going to get straight into the ownership side of this, it was actually £1,600 for the first year when he was 18. Don't think that's too bad, but now he's 19, just over £700 a year for him to insure this with 2 years no claim. So a really good shout on insurance for the guy that's actually got this car. Obviously that is really down to where you're from, how many no claims you've got and all that sort of stuff, but I do think that's quite a good talking point, as this is a relatively cheap car to insure. Fuel wise, this one isn't too bad. Yes, if you put your foot down, it is going to drink like a fish because of the mods, and you obviously want the exhaust to you know what I'm saying. But this one is filled up with just £45 worth of petrol. I think that's a bloody good deal. But what's it like to drive? Let's go and throw it down some B roads. Probably one of my favourite roads ever that I have shot cars down. Now this is quite low, this car, so we will take it easy. It's on the max speeding coilovers, or max speed coilovers, basically the ones you get off eBay, and they're on the hardest setting and pretty much the lowest setting as well in suspension travel and lowness. Not too bad. It doesn't actually ride that bad. I was expecting a little bit worse. This is the same sort of generation. I think I had JOMs on one of my cars. Same sort of scenario where there's not too much dampening really once you're really low, but they don't actually perform that bad. This one's on camber arms as well, so you can actually, regardless of how big the engine is, can actually throw this thing around, and you'll be very surprised at how well cars like this, and you know, this chassis reacts to just some simple suspension modifications. Again, I've driven many of these in every variant whatsoever. Again, the EK9 probably been one of the best cars I've ever driven to date. This is obviously a mild example of that car. It's mildly modified, it's got a bit of power, you know, say with the mods on it, around 100 brake horsepower in this variant today. They're around 90 brake horsepower from the factory, so you know, with exhaust and air filter and all that sort of stuff, let's just say under 100 brake horsepower. That's enough to, you know, make you enjoy this car more than anything. You can throw it around, enjoy it, and I don't think you're gonna really go wrong in this. You know, They're very, very good handling cars, these. And when you jump out of a brand new car, you jump in something like this, you realise how light and on their feet these sorts of cars are. Right, second gear, straight through exhaust system. It's so loud. So Civic-y though, isn't it? It sounds like a Civic, that's exactly what it is. You can flip it down as well. That is super cool. Yeah, it's actually really, really fun to drive this car. I would say this is sort of what makes B-road bashing possible, cars like this, because you can just sit and, you know, you can flat foot through every corner. You can enjoy yourself at, you know, not an alarming rate. You know, a lot of the newer cars say, you know, I drove an S3, you know, guy was in his, you know, low 20s, and this is the same sort of scenario where it's, you know, this isn't finance, this is bought, but that's a very fast car. This is fast in its own right, but it's just got the edge in feel and the edge in personality, I think, more than anything. And we'll never pitch cars together because obviously I haven't got another car with me, but this car like here is a prime example of why you wouldn't necessarily go and finance something, because this thing feels so good to drive. It's very, very tight. At the moment it's showing 96,000 miles, which is, again, I think that's a good bit of mileage. It's not that much for something that's, you know, 20, 21 years old now. I think what you've got here is the perfect example of the first B-roader you can go and get yourself in. All in all then, I probably should have bought one of these when I was younger, or at least for my second car, so I got it out of my system. This thing drives, tracks. Yes, the power could be increased with an engine swap, or maybe even buying a VTEC version of this car, but I do believe that at 19 years old, camber arms on it, if you make it tracking, running and driving car down the back roads, it's gonna be such a good entry level into you enjoying cars. That's what it's all about. My Corsa C that I used to have had nothing on this, on the way it drives and the way it just tracks around corners, and yeah, just really, really good car. And I wish more people out there would go and buy a car like this and focus on, you know, the drivability and how you can throw this thing around at a young age and, you know, enjoy cornering and B roads and stuff in one of these cars. Problems, I would hit more on them, but I don't find many problems with Honda Civics. They seem to go forever, if I'm quite honest. Yes, you know, keep up with service intervals and all that sort of stuff. Rust is always going to be one of those things I want to talk about with Civics of this generation, so just make sure you're not buying a rusty one. And that, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you did like this style of video, give it a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and I'll see you all on the next one.